Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan can we answer fans questions. It's probably not going to be the most positive episode in the world, but let's get into the news you need to know about. Some of this stuff is old, so bear with me. We just haven't. I kind of missed an episode because of Thanksgiving. Dolphins waive safety Marcus May. He was claimed. He's now a member of the Los Angeles Chargers. Again, this news story comes from Pro Football Rumors. I thought this was a weird move by the Dolphins because I thought they could have. I don't know why they did it. Marcus did play some this year. I guess they weren't happy with what they saw, especially in the absence of Javon. I can't remember exactly how many snaps that he took, but it was a good amount. Don't really remember much about it, which I think is a good thing because you have people like, Poyer, who's had not a great season, but they have McMorris, who's kind of waiting in the wings as a young player. So, I don't know. It hasn't really mattered these last two games because, none of the safeties were hurt. The safety position has just been... And what a weird thing is, like, it didn't have to be a problem with some of the decisions that they made. Like, letting Brandon Jones go was a bad idea. And obviously, that's really... Honestly, that was the worst move of the offseason. I don't even think it's close. That was a dumb move. And really hurt the defense. And the defense could have been much better. I mean, even Brandon Jones, I feel like they missed his tackling, too. Because if you have Javon and Brandon, who are very good open field tacklers and very good in the box tackling. Javon Holland is him and probably Jordan Brooks, and even Jordan Brooks to a lesser extent. Those are the only, and Jalen Ramsey at times, I would say are the best tacklers on the team. But Javon is like head and shoulders above everybody when it comes to that. And same thing, and I think they really miss that. And they miss it as a defense, especially when it comes to tackling, because this defense isn't good at that. And it's really hurt them in some of these games, like the Raiders and Packers game. Those were the most abysmal. And the Bills game on the road. Those were all three really bad tackling games. And that showed up periodically through all of the games. But those three games were the worst. And they needed players like that. And getting rid of Brandon really hurt in that department. And that's something that they're going to have to figure out moving forward is... what's weird is I do think Anthony has helped with the physicality part of it, but they need better players they just need better players tackling in the open field, and I think that starts a middle linebacker, and hopefully they can re-sign Javon Holland, and they need to get someone who can play opposite him, who can tackle. So yeah, those are not getting Patrick Queen too was a big mistake. That was a huge mistake because I think those two moves could have really changed. I mean, those two moves would have fixed a lot of the problems this defense has because the front seven with Sealer, Calais, Jalen Phillips, Brandon Jones, or Bradley Chubb moving forward, and maybe Calais has one more year in him. Even if he doesn't, I mean, that's a really good front seven with Chop, who's had such a good rookie season. But that's something that they're going to have to fix moving forward. This next news story comes from Dolphins, or Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins expect Bradley Chubb to play this season, unsure on Shaquille Barrett's status. Let me get you the exact quote here. It's hard to find. Basically, okay, here we go. Mike McDaniel said he is optimistic Chubb will suit up for the team this season. He said that multiple times. Obviously, the Dolphins have lost a bunch of edge rushers, including Jalen Phillips for the season. Shaquille Barrett's not coming back. We'll talk about that here in a second. Again, this story comes from Pro Football Rumors. Who knows when? I mean, he hasn't set a timeline, and he hasn't practiced all season. Maybe he does this week, especially since it was, it's a little bit of a longer week off. They need him to help close out some of these games, and they need him in the run as a run defender. I think Anthony Weaver has done a pretty good job of really trying to make sure that we have the right people in to be a good run defense. And honestly, some of the stuff has kind of surprised me, especially how good Zach Sealer is. And we did a pretty decent job for the most part against the Packers run D, but there was obviously still kind of a gap there. And Bradley Chubb would help out a lot when it comes to that kind of stuff, especially setting the edge. And it's really a bummer. It's going to be interesting to see how, I hope the core of this defense is still intact next season, because I really would love to see what this defense would look like with better talent up front, getting Bradley Chubb healthy, getting Jalen Phillips healthy, Chop's in his second year, Zach is still here. I really want to see that group together with Javon Holland at safety. They just need to add, I think, 2 more players in the middle of the field, but I hope they can keep this core together. We'll see, but I hope they can, and we'll see if who knows when Bradley's coming back. Is basically they think he's gonna play. I mean, obviously, according to the article, Mike has said multiple times he's optimistic, but who knows? Well, hopefully this week, like I said. Let's go to the next news story. Dolphins, this comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins will not activate Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett's attempts to resume his career in 2024 have fallen short. The veteran edge rusher will remain on the injured reserve/retired list, according to Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. Yeah, I don't really know what happened with this. This is one of the dumbest things that happened in the offseason. Clearly, I don't know what happened. Maybe he really just changed his mind. I don't know. But we definitely could have used him, especially up front. And especially how long he waited to retire. I wonder what the Dolphins would have done if they knew this was going to happen. They still drafted Chop Robinson, obviously. But they didn't have the adequate depth there. And, yeah, and then they just got really unfortunate with the injuries, with Phillips especially. Really strange. And then you add on to this, which is the weirdest part. This is what Mike McDaniel had to say about Shaquille Barrett. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. It wasn't any measured situation like the posturing one way or another. Like I said, we just found out one day that I had a press conference. It wasn't it wasn't whether he wanted to play there or here. He knew we had his contractual rights. So it was more, where are we at? And let's look at our roster. Very strange situation with Shaquille Barrett. Even, that quote from Mike, it just makes it even weirder. But I don't know. Who knows what really happened with that. Very unfortunate that it happened. And it kind of, obviously hurt us. Dolphins place Tyus Bowser on IR, activate quarterback Tyler Huntley. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. Yeah. Interesting that Tyus Bowser is out. So maybe they really do expect Bradley Chubb to be back sooner rather than later. And then obviously, Skylar Thompson. And he is, even his offseason was bad, but everything he touches in a Dolphins uniform turns to mud, dude. Even him, he can't even do cleanup duty right. He comes in and can't handle a snap, and the Patriots return it for a touchdown. That's another thing that they messed up in the offseason, was the backup quarterback position. And again, it doesn't make any sense with the way that they handled the offseason and all of their rhetoric that they talking about this is a win now team, we love this team. Then why wouldn't you buy an insurance policy for it? It's just that kind of stuff right there that doesn't make any dang sense half the time. This organization just makes dumb decisions, and it starts with Chris Greer. That was a really bad decision by him, and it has led to the season that we've had. So that's great. And if you go back and look at some of these games, if Tua was healthy, our record would be much different, especially how well the defense played in so many of those games when Tua was out. So it's just frustrating. And the early part of our schedule was so easy, and there was a lot of winnable games on that. Most of them were winnable, and almost all of them actually. I don't. I would have to look at it again, but like literally after the Bills game on the road, we should have, if we had competent quarterback play, we would have won all of those games. So it's just stuff like that there's no way. If I asked Mike McDaniel and he was being honest, there's no way that was his decision. And again, like, what is Chris thinking? Like, everyone who wears a Dolphins jersey every Sunday knows that the backup quarterback position wasn't great. And you know what? I'll give Chris this. He's made some good decisions with the offensive line, re-signing Kendall Lamb, even signing Kendall Lamb, re-signing Austin Jackson, investing in him. He never gave up on him and his development. A lot of people would have. He didn't. Brewer from Tennessee, that was a great signing. Eichenberg, who's been kind of up and down, he's been better, though, I would say. The offensive line, honestly, especially from a pass protection standpoint, has been pretty good all year, for the most part. Obviously, the Packers game, not a great look, but some of those things weren't on the offensive line. It wasn't all of them. So, and again, I think, honestly, from an all-around point of view, this offensive line is probably the best Tua has ever played behind, especially in pass protection. So it's not all bad, but it's just some of the stupidest, like, it's just a dumb decision. And Mike White, who they paid good quarterback money, who doesn't even make it into the season, who was with us most of the preseason. And it's just, like, that was a really, really poor decision by the organization. It makes me mad even thinking about it. It really, really does. And again, I think Chris does, before we move on from this topic of personnel decision making, he's made good, like, there's been really good decisions. Chop Robinson, I was not a fan of that pick out the gate, but he's gonna has a really bright future. Like, he's a cornerstone piece that they have on a rookie deal. So, like, and again, that gives him even more leverage with Bradley Chubb, unfortunately, because I would love to see that rotation. But who knows what's going to happen in the future. But that was a good pick, and he's made a lot of good decisions personnel-wise, especially in the draft lately. But it's kind of uneven, is what I would say. Sip this coffee really quick. Especially defensively, I think, and I'm going to say this really quick, but not fixing the middle of the field was a huge issue, and I don't know how he didn't fix that, especially after last year when that was a huge problem, and especially within the division. That's what Buffalo exploits every time. They throw over the middle. That's the area of the field they exploit the most, and you would think we would have fixed that. So it's just like that kind of stuff. Like, we're in, like, how many years are we going to play them and not fix some of those problems? It's like the same story. We read the same story every time. We literally have to score 30 points to even beat them, or 27 plus. That has to change. And that kind of stuff just can't, you can't do the same thing over and over again. You just can't. So We'll do this quickly because obviously this game was almost, it was a game ago. So we're not going to talk about it too much, but the Dolphins defeat the Patriots 34-15. I didn't get a chance to talk about this game. It was a really good game. Tua played phenomenal. I think Tua's having a phenomenal year. Probably his best season, at least statistically in some areas, but I think just watching him play the game is the most comfortable he's ever looked, the most confident, and I think he's just playing his best football. So I would say this is Tua's best. This is the best Tua's ever looked, in my opinion. And we'll get into Green Bay in here in a second, so I'll save it. This game was great. Jonnu Smith has been a godsend. Another great decision by Chris. Maybe more so Mike McDaniel. Who knows who we give the credit for that one? I really don't know. But he had a phenomenal game against New England. He had 87 yards. Jalen Waddle finally broke out. against the Patriots, which, the Patriots have a pretty good secondary. They've got some talented players back there. They've got three really good, Duggar, Jones, and Gonzalez. Excuse me. So I wasn't expecting us to shred them like we did. As well, I mean, I feel like we really dominated them in the passing game. Obviously, Tua throwing for 4 touchdowns. Waddle, we basically had 2 people almost go over 100 yards. Tyreek Hill was held in check again. He's been held in check pretty much all season. He doesn't look right. I know a lot of people are thinking, well, what's going on with him? I will say 2 things about his season this year. He looked a lot better in the Packers game. But if you go back and watch even this game, he just doesn't look healthy. He looks slower. And in the Packers game, he looked a lot looser. He looked better. Hopefully that's a trend that can continue going. But yeah, in this game especially, he just didn't look right. For whatever reason. He just looked a tad slow in some of these games. He really has. And like I said, I think, yeah, and thank God he looked a lot better in the Green Bay game. But that's another thing that they're gonna have to kind of tweak here is they do have to get. And Omar Kelly tweeted something about this. Obviously, everybody knows that longtime Dolphins beat writer, basically saying they need to get a physical big receiver. And I think that's been something we've talked about a lot, but it's true. Obviously, Azukama isn't going to be that for us. We're going to have to move on, and hopefully we can find that. They need a physical receiver. And I think the theme of this upcoming offseason should be physical. I think that's got to be the theme of the offseason. We got to get better at tackling. We got to get tougher in the trenches. And we got to get tougher at receiver. We got to get bigger there. And hopefully that can happen. We'll see. But I think that was something that really showed up in the Packers game. We'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, we dominated offensively in this game. Defensively, we also dominated. Drake May doesn't make some physical, he can run around. If he doesn't make some plays with his legs, they really wouldn't have done anything. I was impressed with Sealer. He's had one of the best defensive tackle seasons I've seen a Dolphin have. He's playing really good football right now. And same thing with Calais Campbell. Jordan Brooks had a really good game. Dodson from Seattle. Dodson? Maybe I'm getting his name wrong. Let me make sure. There's a reason Seattle, I don't think he's going to really help with much. He's more of like, I swear to God, he's probably going to be he's better utilized as an outside linebacker than he is a middle linebacker. I don't know. Just watching him, he's not quick enough sideline to sideline. So that's definitely why the Seahawks knew that, and that's why he's on our team right now. What's his name? I don't know. It's not. Is it Dotson? Why can't I think of his name? Okay, it doesn't matter. Tyrell Dodson. So we'll move on from this game. Was really impressed with the front seven, especially Sealer and Chop Robinson. I forgot to mention Chop in the Patriots game. He's gotten so good that teams have to double team him now. He not only does he gets pressures constantly. I cannot express, and I know I've said this so many times, I can't believe how good he is already. I was completely wrong about him. I'm so glad we picked him, and I think Anthony Weaver has done a really good job of developing him as the season has gone on, because a lot has been asked of him, and I think they've done a good job of not putting him in situations that he's not going to succeed in. And I think you've really seen his development flourish because of that. But he's going to be a very special pass rusher for a long time. And he was dominant in that Patriots game. He's actually been dominant the last few weeks. Like teams, like I said, the Packers clearly what they saw on film is what everybody else is seeing, because he got chipped a lot in the Packers game. I would say he's definitely been the best rookie out of the class, which is what you want out of your first round pick. And that's not saying that it's like, oh, it's a negative thing. I think to me it's overwhelmingly positive because I didn't expect him to be this good this quick or this good at all, honestly. So let's get into this Packers game. Very depressing, especially to end your Thanksgiving on that. I think it makes it even worse the entire time, even before the game started. And I was like, why do we have to play today? Having a great day, see the family, eating good food, and it's like I really don't have to be stressed out tonight. And then the game starts. And now, granted, if we would have won, it would have been, Thanksgiving gets elevated by a million. But it's just so stressful. And obviously it didn't end up the way we wanted it to. I was very disappointed in the way we played defensively. We really, and let's start offensively. We couldn't do anything when it came to moving them in the run game. That was clear. It reminded me of when we played the Rams, that our interior, other than like Brewer, but we really struggled at the guard position to move people. And that was evident in this game right away, pretty much. And I would say that the Packers definitely don't have the best second level pass coverage defense. There were a lot of plays that were left on the field that if we had better pass protection, we would have hit for big time plays. We just could not, whether it was bad blitz pickup or just bad pass protection. We got a lot. Obviously, the Packers sacked us 5 times. And that left some plays on the field. So there were definitely opportunities in the pass game. And again, just to get this in here, like we talked about, the Dolphins need a bigger receiver. If we had a good receiver who had size for some of these over-the-middle plays, Tua would be almost unstoppable. It's hard to throw a perfect pass to a 5'9" receiver every play, whether that's A-Chain, Tyreek Hill, or Waddle, especially over the middle. So it does make the degree of difficulty even harder, because some of these throws, even though they're like, oh, Tua, missed that throw, it's like, yeah, but if the guy, if he had a normal size receiver, they would have caught that ball. So it's tough. He definitely, I would say, had an uneven game in this game. He had some really nice throws in this game. And some nice reads and some good pocket moments. But that, I think, especially after one, I'm like, yeah, it would be nice to have a receiver like that. Especially for some of those plays. What else do I want to say offensively? We talked about how we kind of struggled moving anybody in the interior. We really didn't execute any of the outside runs in this game at all. I want to say it was Jonnu Smith who completely just didn't even block someone on an edge run. So the execution in this game was not great in the run game, especially in the run game. I thought some of the play calling in the red zone was abysmal, especially the 4th and goal call. I thought that was awful. Just pretty much on that sequence, I would say, was really bad on Mike's part. Other than that, I thought the game plan was pretty good. We did a really good job of attacking their weaknesses in the secondary. But that particular sequence of plays was terrible. And again, I thought Tua had good command of the offense, even though it wasn't an uneven game. Jonnu Smith, who has been phenomenal in this passing game. Odell Beckham is just basically non-existent. He's been... How about have an off season? That's clearly, that's affected him clearly. And that's on the Dolphins for not... Honestly, they should not... If he... And I know he was apparently dealing with an injury. That clearly... That just did not work out. But yeah. We just couldn't... we could not move the Packers in the run game. And some bad execution moments offensively. And yeah. There's really no one I have to get onto. Really, honestly, other than I would say the most mad I was at anybody on offense was it was the sequence of plays that Mike had there at the end. That's pretty much it. Defensively was abysmal. It really was. Dude, Jordan Poyer, dude. has been so bad. And honestly, like, especially when Walker went down, we just cannot tackle, dude. I don't know what it is. It was honestly kind of sad, this game, especially as the game went on. And I liked that Jordan Brooks called out the team and called them soft after that game. And knowing that, Anthony Weaver, who I think has been really good, he's got to at least attempt to fix it in some way. I don't know what, just longer something, do something to practice. I have no idea, but we got to get an inch better at it, because I can't watch that. It was so bad, the tackling in that game, and so bad. And again, I think the two major issues that the reason we struggled against them, our pass rush on third down was really bad, and our tackling was really bad. We really, and this is something that was really hurt us in a lot of the games this year, is we can't close games out in big moments. Now, Chop has done a great job in some of these games, especially, you think about the game against Buffalo. If it wasn't for the penalty that he did commit and Jordan Poyer, that's a great example of the front closing a game out. And he can't just be the only edge rusher, and he is. Like, he's it. That's it. We can't get pressure from really anyone else consistently on the edge. God bless Zach Sealer, but he's not, Aaron Donald. So we haven't gotten a consistent pass rush on third down. It's a miracle and that's a testament to the coaching of how good we have been on third down on defensively. But we got to stop performing this way on the road in the cold. And I don't even think it's an excuse anymore, other than the fact that we've played in too many cold weather games as a football team. This foundation has to be playing for this to be a consistent thing, and hopefully in the future they can personnel wise prepare for this and just fix some of the issues. Like, it's just annoying. Yeah, but defensively, those two things were really bad. And that's the reason the Packers really just kind of had their way with us on offense. We never really put them in any situation, and we didn't help ourselves with the dumb turnover. I forgot about Malik Washington. Speaking of people I was mad at, we started the game off really well, and then that happens. You just can't do that against good football teams. And the Dolphins had moments. Like, I don't think throwing the football, they were fine. They really handled. There was a lot of sacks that happened, whether it was bad 2 sacks, I can tell you, was just bad blitz pickup. Teron Armstead just let someone run free. And I would have to look at the other sacks. And then the other one was the 4th and goal one. It was one of the worst play calls that Mike has ever called through a headset. So, yeah. But honestly, and Mike's going through it right now with the fans. If certain personnel decisions were made differently, the record would be a whole lot different. And you got to beat good teams, though. I think that's the most glaring hole in his coaching career as a Dolphins head coach so far. We got to close out some of these games against good teams, and hopefully he can do that down the stretch. Obviously, we have the Texans. The 49ers aren't good at all, but the Texans game, I want to say we play Baltimore. But that has to change. And granted, we've had opportunities of doing it this season. With the Buffalo game, but that would have been a huge win. No, we don't play Baltimore. So really, we just have to. We have one good football team on our schedule, and that's Houston. Who they just have, and Houston's been struggling too. So, and that's something like next year that Mike's gonna have to do, because I would hope the Dolphins wouldn't fire him. But if he wants a 4th season as a Dolphins head coach, that's something we're going to have to prepare better. We're going to have to fix some of these issues to beat the better teams in our conference. And hopefully we can do that. Because Tua is good enough to go to a Super Bowl. I have no doubt in my mind that he can win a Super Bowl. He's one of the best pocket passers in the NFL. Like, he's top 5, top 3, honestly, from making decisions and throwing from the pocket. He's one of the best, and he's got good pocket presence. He's got great pocket presence. He's physically limited, comparing him to some of the top quarterbacks in the game. Yes, but he's still a great quarterback. We have to be better around him, and we have to fix the issues that have... Just watch the tape against good football teams that we've played in our conference against Buffalo and see where we lack and fix those problems, because there is a good foundation there. There really is. We've got a lot of really good players. I would have loved to have seen what this team would have been like healthy on defense this year. I think it would have been really fun, and I think a lot of those problems from especially run defense would have been fixed. But we got to get better at tackling. We got to get better at middle linebacker, and we got to get better at safety. I like our future at corner. I think it's pretty good. Storm Duck, who's looked really good. Jalen's definitely going to be here next year. He hasn't shown any signs of losing it, at least this season. So they're fine there. They could bring Kendall Fuller back if they wanted to, but they have good depth there and some good young players that are being developed. Same thing with Ethan Bonner. Cam Smith, his jury's still out on him, but Storm Duck has looked good. So this is just... I will say this Dolphins team is not... I think it's fun. It's a fun team, especially on offense. Throwing the football. The run game has disappeared for whatever reason. It just... I don't know. I really don't. I can't really point, because if we really had to, we could have ran against New England. And maybe Isaiah Wynn can help with that. And if I had to, hopefully we can plug and play him relatively soon. There was a little bit of a Patrick Paul sighting against Green Bay. He's got a really bright future as well, so that's good. It's a good draft class, honestly. We got 4 pretty good players that are going to be good. Jalen Wright, Patrick Paul, Chop Robinson, and Malik Washington, who are going to be good players, I think, for us. So that's it. We talked about it all. I'm actually looking forward to the rest of the season, even though it hasn't gone the way anybody wanted it to. It's still a fun team. I don't hate this team. I like this team. It's fun. It's very disappointing to lose again to a good football team this year, and it is what it is, dude. I mean, what else can we say? It's just, we got to fix some of those problems, and hopefully we can moving forward. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do with Chris Greer after this season. I'm not going to be... They have to fix these issues, though, if he comes back. Like, if he still stays stubborn about it, then what are we... Like, we have to get better at middle linebacker. Like, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And we got to get healthy up front. And we got to get a bigger receiver, and probably got to get a guard, honestly. We got to get more physical in the interior, because the tackles are set for the future. It's just the interior. And Brewer's a phenomenal center. But I feel like those are some of the things that they have to address in the offseason. And we'll see if they do. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next one.